Hello everybody, this is Nerdy Geeky, and today I just wanted to talk about Captain America Civil War versus Batman versus Superman films. Obviously this is classic Marvel versus DC, but in specifically these actual films, because we're seeing heroes pitted against each other next year from both Marvel and DC, and I wanted to see what people were more excited about, and I put some pros and cons for each film down. Personally, I mean, my personal opinion is I am more excited for one than the other, and I'll tell you at the end which one that is. But, I mean, let's get into the pros and cons of each film. I mean, you got Captain America Civil War. It's in an established universe. Marvel films are quite consistent with what we get. They have quite a high standard now, and although some do dip under that standard later on, generally we see about the same standard of film. You know, they're all very good, especially since superhero movies are still relatively new for how good they are. So we know when we go into this film, look, this is probably going to be good. All the Captain Americas have been good so far. Most of the Iron Mans, I would say, were good. I really like 1. I'm not that bothered about 2, although as a film in itself, it's alright. And I think 3 is a really good film. I think it's very underrated. And I like Tony Stark, and to see him in not an Iron Man film, but to see him in a Captain America film as kind of taking more of a supporting role rather than a leading role will be very interesting, and I think that will almost make the film better. It'll enrich the story. You know, and we know these characters. We know we like Iron Man. We know we like Captain America, and to see them fight against each other, which has been building ever since the first Avengers film anyway, this rivalry. The only problem we've got with this universe is that this story is going to be hard to see and hard to make, because there's not a lot of superheroes that we've seen anyway on screen, and there's some superheroes that they can't do or haven't done yet that they're just going to have to throw in. I feel like they're kind of throwing in Black Panther. His film's going to be coming out I think the year after. So yeah, they're sort of just throwing him in. Apparently Spider-Man's going to make his debut in this film. Okay, we already know Spider-Man. We've had 5 Spider-Man films from Warner Brothers. So yeah, not Warner Brothers, but we've had 5 Spider-Man movies. But yeah, they're kind of throwing him into this film. But Spider-Man has a pivotal role in this storyline, and I've actually recently bought the comic, and I will read through the comic. But he has a pivotal role. And this is a spoiler for the comic, but this is what I've heard. Basically, he's the first to publicly and willingly reveal himself, and it's powerful. It's like, oh, he's just a teenager, you know, but he's a superhero that we all look up to, and he's willingly said, look, this is who I am, and now I've put my family and friends in danger by throwing myself onto the fire like this. And yes, okay, they're going to do that. I don't know how much of a role Spider-Man's going to have. I wonder if it's just literally he's going to be on the TV unmasking himself, and it's going to be shocking. But that's the thing about unmasking themselves. In this universe, in this cinematic universe, everyone knows who Steve Rogers is. He's even got a museum dedicated to him. Everyone knows who Iron Man is because Tony Stark publicly admitted it. Black Widow released everyone's profiles onto the internet, including her own. So there's no real secret identities in this series. So whether it will be releasing everyone's identity to the world, whether that's the main story, or whether the big thing is, especially after Age of Ultron, where Tony Stark feels very responsible for bringing on this villain that obviously in the film must have killed hundreds or thousands of people, that he feels responsible enough that he wants these superhero types to work for S.H.I.E.L.D., or maybe not S.H.I.E.L.D., but the government, because of what's happened to S.H.I.E.L.D. He wants them to work for the government, or maybe work for the Avengers, or at least sign up and be kind of regulated. So maybe that's more the story than actually unmasking them and telling the whole world who they are. But he definitely wants to log them, very similar to the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series when they talk about the list that they have of all these superhero or super-powered people. That's going to be a big issue to get around. I trust Marvel and Disney. They seem to be doing a really good job with this universe. And they're doing it right. They're taking their time. They're telling you when things are coming out well in advance. You know what's coming. And we've had this whole build-up. We know the characters. We don't have to spend half the movie finding out who these 2 characters are and why are they fighting. We know the Civil War story. They're going to get into it. We know the characters. There's no need to introduce them. They're already fighting within the other movies. There's an established background and established issues between these fundamental characters. That is why I think that film will do well. And that is why I'm excited for that film, because I'm going into a universe I already know. It's another piece of this larger universal puzzle. Now, Batman vs Superman. Now, Man of Steel, some people hated it and some people loved it. I love it. I love origin stories, and I think they did Superman's origin story really well. I love the darker tone of it. I love the new suit. Henry Cavill looked bang on, and he was brilliant in his role. Even his accent was spot on. You couldn't even hear that wasn't his accent, or at least I couldn't, because if you don't know, Henry Cavill's actually English. The only problem with this film is that we've only had one Superman film of the new universe, and even though I think the Nolan films are being classed as canon, it's been a long time since we've had a Batman film, and it's a different Batman. It's Ben Affleck instead. So this universe is relatively new. In fact, you could even say that there's only been one film so far in this entire new DC universe, and they're suddenly bringing in a film where you got 3 superheroes, and 2 of which are relatively new. We know Henry Cavill, Man of Steel. We don't know Ben Affleck, Batman. It could be. I think he's going to be really good. I had my reservations at the beginning, but I saw him in the Batsuit, and I've been hearing things, and apparently he is good. And you're bringing in Wonder Woman before her own dedicated film, and I think that's rushed. I think they're just shoehorning her in there. I would rather just see her in her own movie first. I got nothing against Wonder Woman, but I think that they're pushing her into this film because this is going to be a prelude to the Justice League. But you can't have a Batman vs Superman movie, which is basically what is a trailer movie, basically a movie made to bring on another movie, a trailer movie for the Justice League of America. At the end of the day, this needs to be a movie in its own right. This story can't be half the film and then the other half of the film be the start of the Justice League. It's Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice. So obviously it is the start of the Justice League. I think Wonder Woman clogs everything up. This is Batman vs Superman. Keep it simple. Give the fans what they want. Bring Wonder Woman in with her own film, which will be brilliant. They want a trilogy, actually, which sounds brilliant. Read up on it. It's great. I might do another video on that anyway. I don't know much about Wonder Woman. Very much looking forward to that storyline. Very much looking forward to that film. Not looking forward to her in this film. It's going to be tricky just throwing her in there. They're like, we're doing Batman vs Superman, yay! And we're going to throw in Wonder Woman. How is that going to work? And that was my initial intent. That was my initial thing. I'm excited, and I hope that her presence in there helps. I hope that they write her into the story properly. But this is technically introducing 2 new characters into this universe, which is brand new. And this universe is quite inconsistent. I mean, yeah, okay, Batman was dark and gritty, but Batman is. Superman's not always dark and gritty, but this one was a little bit more dark, a little bit grittier, but not as gritty as Batman, which is the right tone to have. But at the same time, this is still experimental. We don't know what to expect from this universe. This film could still go either way, which is why I'm excited for it, but I'm reserved about my excitement because this could be a massive letdown. The Batman vs Superman bit could be like the first half an hour. It could be the whole film. We don't know. Now for Civil War, we know there's going to be the whole film. We know what to expect. We know it's going to be lots and lots of superheroes, but it's mostly going to be between Captain America and Iron Man, who are the 2 sort of leaders of each faction, you could say. But if you look at Man of Steel and the Nolan films, obviously, of Batman, they've all got great stories, and they've all focused on story. Great story-driven movie. So I think the story for this movie is going to be good. I think it's going to be story-driven, and I don't think it's just going to be mindless violence, maybe until the end, a bit like Man of Steel. But I like the violence in Man of Steel. They weren't afraid to take down an entire city, and that's what you need. These super-powered people are fighting. There's going to be so much collateral damage, and they conveyed that. I didn't think it was gratuitous. I think it was realistic of these 2 super alien-powered people fighting in the middle of a city. Yeah, no wonder it got wiped out, kind of thing. Yeah, so I mean the introduction of 2 new characters into a relatively unknown universe, which has only just had 1 film. I think Batman vs Superman is going to be a great film. I think shoehorning, I feel like that Wonder Woman has been shoehorned into it, and I don't think that's a good idea. Wonder Woman's going to have her own film, and that's amazing. Maybe even a trilogy, which I will really love. I think finally seeing a female lead as a superhero is going to be amazing, and her as a lead character will be great. I think she's going to be backstory in this film. Considering the first two films are going to take place in the past, it means that the world's already going to know about Wonder Woman in this film. So they kind of be like, hey, yeah, Wonder Woman's there and everyone already knows about her, but you've never heard about her in any of the other films. I think it's too clunky and it's not going to work well. I'm more excited for Civil War because I know what I'm going to expect from it. And I know people think, oh, it's kind of boring, but I do know what to expect from Civil War, and I do know straight away before I go in that it's likely 90% definitely gonna be a great film. Whether it's better than all the other films or not is another thing, but it's Marvel. They've done great already. I trust them. DC are very up and down, very mixed. They've got great Batman, kind of iffy Superman. Yeah, the first Superman films were like sort of 70s, 80s and that. I like them because for the time they were great for what they are. Superman Returns was alright, it was okay, basically. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad. It had some great elements, it had quite a poor story at the end. So yeah, DC are very up and down. I don't know what to expect from this film. I'm going to go in with excitement, but reserved excitement. So that's my verdict of Captain America Civil War versus the Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice film. If you've got a different opinion, please put it in the section below, and I will read every one of them and I will reply to as many as I can. I would love to hear your version, your opinion on that, or your points of view, anything you might have heard from the films. I'm thinking that the DC universe is going to be a lot darker than Marvel, which is great. It's a great contrast. If they just sort of make these carbon copy films with just renamed superheroes, because you know Marvel and DC, they've got very similar superheroes, I don't think it'd be very good. So I like the fact that it's darker, it's grittier. I like the fact that it's got this undertone. It does look like it's going to be a good story. You're going to see Lex Luthor as well, which is going to be great. He's probably some sort of instigator into this Batman vs Superman conflict, or at least he's going to love it. So, yeah, I'm excited for both, but Batman vs Superman I've got reserved excitement for because I don't know what to expect from it. But I'm sure Ben Affleck will be great. I'm sure Wonder Woman will be a good role in it. But that's optimism at its highest, because it could easily go the other way. It could easily be too much for one film. It could be too long, or it could be too short and just have too little of everything in. And it could just be a trailer movie for the Justice League, which has been split up into two movies anyway, by the looks of it. And that's something else I'm going to talk about. In my next video, I'm going to talk about just general Marvel versus DC, see which one I prefer, although you could probably guess already. But no, there are good points for both, and there are bad points for both, and I will discuss those in my next video. I know this video is a little bit longer than usual, but I am discussing two films at once, I guess. But if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe, and I've got more videos on the way, and I'm going to try and do more videos as often as possible. Basically, whenever I think about something to talk about, I record it and I put it up on YouTube. There's no set date yet, but if I do get more subscribers, I will try and set specific days that I send out videos so you kind of know what's coming and when it's coming, or at least when it's coming. There's other things. I've got my new Twitter in the description below. I've also put my Tumblr in the description below if you'd like to follow things on Tumblr, and I've also got my Blogger blog, or my Blogspot blog, so please feel free to visit any of those. Put comments, put anything you want on them, slag me off, have a go at me, I don't care. Put supporting comments in there, that'll be lovely. I don't mind. Just I like to read other people's opinions, other people's points of view. Please try and keep any spoilers out of the comments, but other than that, communication is always welcome. Thank you very much for watching. This is another Late Night Nerdy Geeky, and I'll see you again.